Hey, it is snowing outside. You have found the wristwatch love covenant we call Never Enough Time. The worse the weather gets, the more we want to come out and do watch reviews. A couple things as we do these watch reviews outside. One, there's going to be people, family members building an ice rink back there in the back, so if there's some commotion, that's just going to have to be the way it is. And two, I promise you there'll be at least one weird editing jump cut as I'm yelling for my cattle dog to make sure she's in the area. Shiloh being our, how about our station mascot? Let's call it today, she's our station, YouTube station, channel. She's the channel mascot station. I'm not a station. All right, today we're looking at the Glycine Combat Sub. And this is a watch that reminds me sometimes that we pay too much for micro brands. Let's break that down. Let's do this.
Across the river there's a woman I know. Sometimes I go there and I knock on her door. I said, baby, 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 let's waste some time.
So first, let's just get the dimensions out of the way. This is a 42 millimeter watch. However, if you go out to the crown, you're talking 46 millimeters. It is 50 millimeters lug to lug, so it does give some substantial wrist presence. The 42 millimeters with the 50 lug to lug, 46 millimeters when you go out to the crown. So visually, it does announce itself on your wrist. It is just slightly over 10 mil thick, so a very thin watch. 200 meters of water resistance. You have a 22 millimeter lug width. You have sapphire crystal. And then the movement in this is basically it's a Swiss made at a 28-24. Glycine gives it their own name. I think they do some work on the rotor. It's not the internet. They do some work on the rotor, and then I think they call it a GL, I think 129. I'll annotate the actual movement. Now, the line of Glycine Combat Subs is pretty expansive. There is an enormous amount of colorways, variations. I think there's some bronze or some explorer style. There's just a lot of different configurations, but in general, the review would cover all of them. And so if you like everything else about the watch, then you have plenty of options to choose from in terms of what particular style you would like. Now, Glycine is owned by the Invicta Group, and that doesn't bother me in the least. I get, again, I've said this before, I understand why people have their certain gripes or not, but I take watches on a case-by-case basis and just look and go, is this watch delivering value? Is it well built? Is it quality? And I'm a fan of the Glycine brand. Today I'm wearing the Glycine Airman. Pick up the low camera. I've already done a review on this watch. Love it. And, you know, the Glycine Airman, like the Combat Sub, or I should say we're doing the Combat Sub, but Glycine Combat Sub, like the Airman, is very thin, same sort of dimensions and wrist presence. So, you know, a lot in common between these two reviews. But when I say that this watch sometimes reminds us we pay too much for micro brands, I don't mean that in an absolute sense, but these Glycine Combat Subs can be purchased, many of them can be purchased for under $400. If you look around, under $300. If you don't care about colorway, I've seen them for brand new for $279. Pre-owned, you're going to find a lot of them for under $300, and again, certainly under $400. And so when you look at a watch that's $400, that has 200 meters of water resistance, that has a sapphire crystal, metal bracelet in this case, Swiss heritage brand. I mean, Glycine's been around for over 100 years. Swiss made movement. And then sometimes you look at your $500 micro brand that sure has a ceramic bezel insert, and then it has a Seiko NH35, and you know it's $500, and you sometimes go, ugh. Now there's lots of good reasons to purchase micro brands. I own a lot of them. But it's where and how you assign value. And it's good to take a look at something like the Glycine Combat Sub once in a while. And the next watch review is going to be a Hamilton. Same thing there. All of a sudden you realize, wait a minute, there's these heritage Swiss Hamilton, Swiss American brands with Swiss made movements with a big brand name behind them. that you can purchase for the same amount you can purchase a micro brand with a lot less in terms of movement and heritage, etc. So I don't make a judgment on that. I simply say I'm glad when I pick up a Glycine Combat Sub or the Glycine Airman, and it reminds me what you can get out there that is Swiss made, that is heritage, that is still of quality compared to the micro brand world sometimes. So it's worth checking out in that realm. Now, this particular one is a gray configuration with a matte black or dark blue dial, depending on how the light catches it, but it's a matte black. The accents on it are yellow. What I would say about the Glycine Combat Sub in terms of a dive watch, I love everything about it, right? Its proportionality, its thinness, its water resistance, all the specs you get for such a good price, tremendous amount of value. The lume is super average, and this is where, right, Seikos and all kinds of micro brands that light up like torches. The Glycine doesn't. It does okay, but it is lacking what I would say in terms of modern day lume, or what we've come to expect from some more recent offerings on dive watches. So the lume does fall a little bit short, but at 10 millimeters thick to get a 200 meter water resistance watch, to me is absolutely awesome. I love both the Glycines for the thinness on that. Now, the other thing about this particular, and I think there's other colorways that would be the same, I got this gray one, well, for two reasons. I didn't have any experience with Glycine when I made this purchase. This watch is probably 3 years old. I think I got it for like $279 or $259. And I was confused when I bought it and got it home and set it next to the Seiko SKX, because this was a Swiss-made movement, had hacking, had hand winding. The Seiko didn't. It was thinner. It wore better personally on my wrist. That might not be the case for you. And it was the same price as the SKX. So I was starting to do those computations of what truly value is and what it is I value. So I fell in love with the Combat Sub, which led me to also fall in love with the Airman. Now, this gray configuration, though, is an absolute strap monster. Gray just went with everything, and I'll roll in as many shots as I have with this watch with different straps, but I wore it on blue silicone. You could wear it on yellow, black, red. It doesn't matter. They look great on all of them. So I had a ton of fun. I wore this one summer, probably every day during the summer, and would just change out the watch straps. And what's nice about that is it does have the drilled lugs there, and Helm was the same way. The Vanuatu, I'd always switch out the bracelet, and when you have the drilled lugs, it just simply makes it easier. Now, I no longer own this watch. I gave it to my son as a Christmas present about a year ago. He's worn it every day for the past year, and I think what he would tell you that he loves about it, except that he's camera shy. No, he's not. He's just not around. What he loves about this watch is its thinness. He works in a tech job where he has to do some repair work in office buildings, etc. And having a thin watch that slides under his cuff, but that is still robust the way this dive watch is, just really fits his lifestyle, fits his job, fits all those things. So I think it's just a very, very strong offering for the amount of money. And I'm not always sure why I go looking for love in all the wrong places, right? You chase, that should be a song. You chase the coolest specs on the next micro brand. You chase the coolest looking whatever is out there. I mean, that Seal Model 8.5 that I just did, I love that watch. And then I think the Glycine was a third of that. And so that doesn't mean that the Glycine is underpriced or the Seal is overpriced. It just reminds you sometimes to take a step back and say, what is it you really value in a watch? And you don't always have to spend a ton of money to get what you're looking for. And I appreciate that very much about the Glycine Combat Sub line. So we'll cut it off there. I mean, I like to watch. For under $400, I sometimes go, man, why did I go down the micro brand rabbit hole? Now, we know why. There's lots of reasons to love micro brands. Like I said, that Seal 8.5 might be my favorite watch of 2020. But a very wearable watch. Or who's this watch for? Who would want this watch? Well, one, I think it's a great gift watch for someone who's new into watches because it's so affordable. Two, it's a great watch for everyone else because it's so affordable. It's a great watch if you are looking to get into a Swiss-made, Swiss movement without spending a ton of money. It's a great watch if you love the heritage of Glycine and understanding the company's history and story. It's a great summer watch. It's a great winter watch. I just think that it's really, really good. The lume is the one thing that's short. And so, you know, we'll cut it off there. I don't need to go on and on. I just think it's pretty solid. I don't know if she's in camera. Shiloh, come here. There she comes. Come on, come say hi. She loves it out here, so do I. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. We're going to have these videos out, like I said, every 3 to 5 days going forward here. We love it. And I love doing it in this weather. I don't know why. So where I live, this happens a lot. Thanks for hanging out. God bless.